Scott Schoen from the Family Martial Arts Academy. Today I'm really looking forward to getting to talk with you a little bit about why students or why children behave in certain ways, and I think this is a question that a lot of parents ask. You know, a child will disobey them or punch another child at school or bite them or steal something, you know, and you go, why did they do that? And then you say to yourself, okay, you know, let me ask the child, Jimmy, why did you do that? And they always say, I don't know. Or if you talk with them a little more, they may be able to come up with a little bit of a story on, you know, what it is that made them do that. This kid did this, and that made me do this, and they go on and on like that. And I think that, you know, that can be somewhat productive to sort of see how they're thinking about it a little bit. But let me give you a different way of looking at this. So the first thing to realize is that everybody does what they do because they think that that's the best possible thing for them to do. So even though it seems not to be reasonable, even people who do things that are wrong or do something that's horrible, they believe, either consciously or subconsciously, that somehow that behavior is the best possible thing for them to do. And I certainly didn't come up with this idea. St. Augustine said this, you know, 1,000 years ago or whatever it is. And so, but it's a very simple idea, and it makes sense. You do what you think is in your best interest. And so when a child does a different behavior, a behavior that we don't want them to do, we think isn't going to work for them, is going to hurt them, they're doing it because they believe that that behavior is the best possible thing for them. And so when we realize that, it can give us a lot of freedom. We might find out, you know, the other reasons. The other child took your toy, or, you know, the teacher said X, Y, Z. But it's never those things that cause the behavior. It is always who the child is, and that who they are, either consciously or unconsciously, thinks that that behavior is the best possible thing for them to do. And usually you think it's the best possible thing for you to do because on some level it's fulfilling your needs. So maybe a child will act out and do what's wrong at home because they want more attention. And they know that if you, when you catch them doing this wrong thing, you're going to punish them, you're going to yell at them, then you're going to take them to timeout, they're going to run out of timeout, you're going to pull them back into timeout. Now, even though maybe they don't like timeout, even maybe though if you ask them, they say, oh no, I don't want to do that and get caught, I was just looking to do it, they, on a subconscious level, know that it's giving them more attention. And so the key then is to realize how whatever they're doing now, the strategy that they're doing now, is fulfilling their needs, and how on some level they feel it's the best possible thing for them, and then to create a situation where that no longer works. So they no longer are able to get your attention by behaving in a certain way, or they're no longer able to get the teacher's attention at school in a certain way, or there's, you know, some kind of added punishment, or there's some kind of added bonus when they do things the right way, so that they begin to say, this isn't working for me, and this other strategy that mom and dad or my teachers at school or, you know, my karate instructor are suggesting are going to work a lot better to fulfill that need, and then the person's going to stop. It's just like when an adult, you know, is an alcoholic. They're an alcoholic because they are fulfilling their needs with alcohol. It's a really maladapted strategy. It doesn't work well at all, but that's why they're doing it. So when you approach your children and their behavior with the mindset of that you know why they're doing it. I know why this child did it. On some level, it's fulfilling their needs, and they believe it's what's best. So now I'm going to either make it so that it doesn't fulfill their needs, or I'm going to teach them a new strategy that fulfills their needs even better, that's going to replace the old one. And that doesn't mean that you wouldn't punish the child. Punishing the child makes it so that strategy becomes maladaptive, as long as it's not fulfilling some other need. Again, you punish the child. I've had parents come in and say, I have tried everything. I punish him, 50 different ways, and nothing has changed his behavior. And then as we start talking about, how they punish them, well, I'll put him in his room, and then he'll throw a fit and start breaking things in his room, and I'll come in and, I'll clean up the room, and then I'll sit with him and hold him there, and the whole time I'm thinking, maybe that's exactly what the child inwardly on a subconscious level wants. They want that attention. They want their parents to come in and be with them. So making sure that with each level of behavior, instead of saying to yourself, I don't understand why this child is doing it, say, I know exactly why they're doing it, because they think it's what's best and somehow it's fulfilling a need. And then as you unravel that problem, you can make it so that that strategy doesn't work to fulfill their need, and you replace it with a new strategy, and that's going to greatly help. I use this constantly with myself and with other adults, and I'm going to be talking about it in another video in just a minute below this one, just for adults, how to use this strategy with other people. But certainly with kids, this can be extremely effective, and it answers that question for you. You don't have to sit there and talk with a child for a really long time about why they're doing something. You can, and it can be informative. It's not a bad thing, but you can know the why. The why is because it is somehow fulfilling their needs, and at the same time, it's somehow fulfilling their needs, and they think it's what's best. So I hope this really helps. And when I first heard this, I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's no big deal. But it's something that the more you think about, the more it gives you options to act, different ways to handle children and handle yourself, and to understand why people do the things they do. So